Then we moved back to Brownwood. Dad was working for the Swift oil mill there in Brownwood, because the guy that had the ranch in Winchell, he just couldn't pay, because wool was way down. They couldn't sell it and stuff like that, and times was hard.
Oh, this is Depression times.
It's Depression time. This is 1929, 1930.
Right.
30,
oh yeah, that was right in the middle of it.
31. Yeah. And anyway, I was just going to school. I was still in the second grade there in Winchell. But anyway, after that, we moved in 1932. We moved to Rising Star, Eastland County, on a farm up there, which was 187 acres, and we done a lot of truck farming. And
what do you mean by truck farming?
well, we raised everything that you would sell in a grocery store: tomatoes, cucumbers, okra, sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes, bell peppers. We had it all. We had everything: onions, whatever. Watermelons, cantaloupes. And
how big was your garden?
Acres.
Wow.
Maybe around 60 to 70 acres.
60 or 70 acres, just a garden?
Garden. It wasn't a garden. It's a truck farm.
Yeah, that's not a garden.
It's a truck farm.
Sure.
Okay, so, but then the Depression was still going on, and
hard to sell stuff.
Well, we couldn't. I actually took a wagon and team and put it out on the highway. We lived about 3 miles from the highway.
Right. What highway are you talking about?
That was 84.
Okay.
Going in from Rising Star to Cisco. And I would take tomatoes and stuff on my wagon out there on the highway. I could not sell a bushel of tomatoes for a dime. For 1 dime.
So basically what was going on is the times were so tough that you were growing stuff, spending money and time and energy growing stuff, but then you couldn't even sell it.
Couldn't sell it. Nobody had a dime. Nobody had money.
Right.
No money. And then I was going to a little school called Crocker School, which is a community school. And we had 2 teachers, and the one teacher taught
all grades.
Yeah.
All 12 grades.
Yeah. 2 teachers taught up to 6th grade. 2 teachers.
Wow. Up
through the 6th grade. And then after that, we went into Rising Star. Caught the bus, went into Rising Star. Now I started in the 5th grade. Actually, I went into Rising Star in the 5th grade, because they was trying to phase out Crocker, and they did. But anyway, I finally wound up going to high school there in Rising Star. When I went to 8th grade. Yeah, there was only 11 grades at the time.
Right.
Yeah, 11 grades.
Okay.
So, anyway.
1st through 11th, and then you graduate.
Huh?
1st through 11th, and then you just graduate.
Yeah, graduate. Anyway, it went on, we rocked on there until 1939.
Did things start getting better money-wise?
Not much.
Okay.
Not much at all. And Dad was working. He left because he couldn't make a living on the farm. Couldn't sell nothing.
Right.
So he left, and he came later on. I found out he came back to Brownwood, and then Mother left, and with my youngest brother Wayman, and went to Pennsylvania.
Was it? I mean, I hate to ask it like this, but if someone did something like that now, they would be arrested for abandonment of kids and stuff like that. Was it sort of an acceptable thing to leave kids of that age on their own?
Let me tell you, at 13, I went and got a hardship driver's license at 13, and I was driving a 33 Chevrolet.
Right.
And I actually took my brother and my mother to Cisco to catch the train to go to Pennsylvania, and I was left on the farm by myself at 13 years old.
And nobody.
Well, you don't get questions back then. I mean,
Right.
Russell, you can't imagine the times was nobody even thought about it. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
I mean, because you had to do what you had to do back then to live.
Why didn't she just take you with her?
My sister only sent enough money for 2 of them to ride on the train. For mother and my brother.
And she just thought that Wayman was not
Well, he was-
not old enough to really take
He
care of
was
himself.
younger than me, 2.5 years younger. So she took him and went to Pennsylvania to
Right.
my sisters,
Right.
and they left me on the farm. Okay, we had 10 cows, we had some calves, we had 2 mules and 2 horses. We had some pigs. We had quite a few pigs, hogs and pigs.
Right. I remember you saying that.
We had chickens, we had turkeys. And there was a guy from Rising Star. I had told him, I'd hitchhiked into Rising Star, which is 9 miles. And I told him I wanted to sell that stuff. And he came out and he looked at what I wanted to sell. I mean, all the livestock and all that. And some other stuff, you know, that I had there.
Equipment or?
Well, some equipment.
Right.
Some of it was so old that Dad had repaired to use,
Right.
Which we had scrounged all over the country, and he had repaired it. Dad was a great repairer with a forge and a blacksmith. You know, he was great.
That's where you get it.
He could build plows and all that stuff, and he did all that.
Right.
And so I could go back into some of that and tell you the stories how we began if you want me to.
Sure.
I mean,
That's what we're doing this
we
for.
moved out there on the farm. We had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally nothing. There were no lights. Only thing we had was a water well. Dad built an outside toilet.
No running water, no electricity.
No electricity. No, nothing. We had nothing.
What kind of a stove?
Wood. Had 2 wood stoves.
Wood burning stove?
Kitchen stove, cook stove, and then a heater in one of the rooms.
How many bedrooms in the house?
Just one. Well, actually 2. Mother and Dad slept in the living room, what we called the living room, where the heater was. And us kids stayed in the other room, which was a big room. We had 2 beds in it. And see, my brother Aubrey, Geneva, Edwin, me, and my brother, younger brother Wayman, was at home. That's all it was at home. Out of 8 children, that's all it was home. And so we, the neighbor north of us, he had a sow that had pigs. She had 12 pigs.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And the sow stepped on one and cut its belly open, which was a sow. And Dad, he was fixing to kill it and get rid of it. Dad said, "Can I have it?" And he said, "Sure, take it home." He took it home, and Mother sewed it up and built a corset for it, put around it. That sow, when she got old enough, had 11 pigs.
Wow.
That started our pig farm. I don't know where Dad got the first mule. I don't know. And the horse, I don't know where he got the horse. But we wound up with 2 mules and 2 horses. I have no idea where they come from. But the cow, now, the neighbor south of us, which neighbors were a mile apart, okay?
Right. Because everybody had to have land to grow stuff.
That's right.
Right.
So, anyway, this guy had a heifer calf that had a crooked mouth.
Messed up. Yeah, remember that.
So Dad asked him, he was fixing to kill it. And
Right.
he said, Dad asked him, could he have it? He said, yeah, take it. So Dad took it home, and they operated on this calf. Mother and Dad operated on this calf and straightened its mouth. And that calf had another heifer calf. By the way, the bulls come over the fence. We didn't.
Right.
we didn't have-
Yeah, I remember.
We didn't have to buy a bull because we had no trouble with bulls. Okay, our neighbors had bulls. So that started our cows. The chickens, Mother ordered 100 chickens from Sears and Roebuck. And I have no idea where they got the money to buy the chickens. I have no idea. But they did. They ordered 100 chickens.
That just sounds funny to order animals from Sears.
Oh yeah, 100 chickens. Yeah. And, well, I can tell you a better one than that. Dad, we would go out in the pasture and cut down bee trees, and Dad would, the bee wouldn't sting him. He could take his arm like that and rake bees into a hive, and it wouldn't hurt him. I could almost do it, but not quite.
Yeah.
And I did. But anyway, we would go get a bee tree and get the bees out of it, and he would dig down in there and find the queen. And if there's more than one queen, he'd take that queen out and put it in another hive.
With his bare hand?
Bare hand. And have 2 hives. Then, if he didn't have an extra queen, he would order one from Sears and Roebuck.
Yeah.
Okay? You could order anything from Sears and Roebuck.
Wow.
I guarantee you. Anyway, that's how we started with the pigs, the cows, the chickens, and the baby beef turkeys. Our neighbor let us have a setting of baby beef turkey eggs, and Mother put them in an incubator and kept them in the house with a candle. Hatched those eggs out with a candle.
Wow.
She kept, actually, you could make your own candles back then out of wax. Out of wax, you know. Yeah. But they would melt it down and put the wick in and all that stuff.
Right.
But she kept that incubator with a candle. It was cold weather, and she kept that.
You didn't really have a choice about that candle making business. You had to have candles to survive.
We had coal oil lanterns, coal oil lamps,
right,
and we had candles.
Yeah.
We had, if we run out of coal oil and couldn't buy any that month, which was $0.05 a gallon, if we couldn't buy any coal oil that month, we'd use candles. Okay? But we'd make our own candles.
Well, yeah.
Out of wax, you know. But then, anyway, back to the deal. Hubert Jones came out, and
he's getting ready to buy your stuff.
Getting ready to buy the stuff.
Sure.
And he told me what he'd give me for it, and I was 13 years old, and I told him, I said, Mr. Jones, I'm real young, but I'm not stupid. I will shoot every one of them before I let you have them for that. And he left. And about a week later, he come back, and he said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. And he did. He gave me a pretty good price, or what I thought was a pretty good price at the time.
Right.
And
do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I sold him 10 cows, and 2 mules, 2 horses, and I don't remember how many pigs and big Schultz I had. And the chickens, he didn't want the chickens, but he took them, and he didn't want the turkeys, but he took those. And
did he just come out there with a big trailer?
2 or 3 trucks.
Uh-huh.
He had trucks. And he had some trucks that he could load those horses on. Yeah. In fact, he loaded 2 horses in one and 2 in another. And the cows, he had to make 2 trips on the cows. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But he come and got all that stuff, and I think I wound up with $1,500, I think, which was a lot of money.
Heck yeah.
A lot of money. So I took my clothes in a little pasteboard box, and I went to Brownwood. I hitchhiked to Brownwood.
Right.
And my brother had already came and got that Chevrolet, so I didn't have any transportation. I couldn't buy fuel for it if I did.
You're fine. I'm going to try to adjust this just a little bit here. You're fine. Keep going, Papa.
Anyway, I hitchhiked to Brownwood.
Right.
My brother had already come got the Chevrolet. My brother Aubrey, which was older than me, had already come got the Chevrolet, and I had no transportation. So
And he's still living. He's 90.
He's 92, be
92.
93 in October.
All right.
And he lives in Twin Falls, Idaho.
Right.
Anyway, I was there on Austin Avenue in Brownwood. Now, I had money. Don't misunderstand me.
From the animals that you'd already sold.
All that stuff I sold, I had money. But
what about the home? Did you sell that or
no? My brother Glenn bought it. It wasn't. We couldn't pay for it. Even the place sold 187 acres sold for $325.
$325?
Yes, and we could not pay for it. So my brother Glenn, he never knew that there's a depression. He was a conductor on the Rock Island Railroad, and he bought it. I mean, he paid it off, and but later on he sold it, and it belongs to a corporation now. But he sold the place, and anyway, all that stuff's gone now. The house, the barn, all that stuff, it's gone.
Right.
But anyway, that place at one time had 8 oil wells on it, but they were shallow wells, and the oil was gone, but it still had gas.
Right.
Had a lot of gas. We had one well that's still producing gas, but we burned it. We couldn't use it. There wasn't no way to use oil, gas, natural gas.
Right.
So we burned it. It burned all the time. And so, but anyway, I went to Brownwood, and I walked up on this woman's step there on Austin Avenue. She had a big, huge 3-story house and a beautiful yard and all that. And I said, her name was Sims, May Sims. And I said, ma'am, could I mow your yard? And she looked at me and she said, are you hungry? And I said, well, I could eat, although I never let nobody know that I had money.
Right.
And so she took me in and fed me, and she said, you mow my yard, and you come back in here and talk to me. So I mowed her yard with a push mower. I didn't have no power.
Right, it just rolled, one of those rolling deals?
Push mower. And I got through, and I trimmed it and everything with one of them deals around.
Oh my gosh, by hand?
By hand. I done the trimming. Anyway, I got through, and I went back in. I knocked on the door, and she took me in, and she said, where are you going to stay tonight? And I said, well, I really haven't thought about that yet. And she said, I'll tell you what, tonight I've got a back porch room on the back porch here. And you stay here tonight, and we'll talk in the morning.
What about like clothing and all that kind of stuff? Did you have all that stuff with you?
A little box. Didn't have much.
Right.
I had my underwear and I think a couple of pair of breeches. Excuse me.
Could I ask a question?
That's
You said
it.